Everyone said he was hopeless, wanted him nearby at the local rescue shelter in rural Vermont. Was a German shepherd named Shadow. Became more of a warning. Volunteers whispered about him. In whispers, staff posted notes on his kennel. Avoid the. Many experienced handlers refused to step too close. Shadow didn't bark attention or wag his tail like the. He growled, lunged, and exposed himself. Teeth at anyone nearby, especially men. His cage was his fortress. 8 months of snarls and silence passed since his discovery, chained to an abandoned farm fence. His dark eyes and visible ribs. Hollow most believed he was trained, possibly as a cruel guard dog. Even intimidated, nobody really knew only that he'd suffered, hated people, and refused salvation. He was unadoptable until one quiet morning when Dr. Rachel Moore walked into shelter with her 10-year-old daughter Leia at side. Rachel didn't want a pet, specialized in trauma therapy, behavior recovery, but she died. Shadow's kennel caught their eye. She changed, not the dog. Rachel approached the kennel wrong. She gently stopped a few feet away, her hand on Ela's shoulder. Both looked at Shadow curled in the farthest corner, his massive frame tightly folded like he was trying disappear. His dull, patchy coat, his body stiff but his eyes wide open. Grab Rachel. Guarded intensity, not rage. Any threat, just fear. What happened? Him, Rachel whispered. Kind but cautious shelter manager. He was discovered on abandoned farm, chain, no food. Shelter. He's never bit, but he's close with men. If a male volunteer passed by on cue, Shadow rushed to him from a few feet away, snarling, fee hurling himself at bars. Trish flinched. Volunteer mumbled, and he sped up. We tried. Trish behaviors medicate everything, but he doesn't let anyone in. Rachel saw something then not. An aggressive dog that survived. Learned dogs threatened people who had built high walls even. Kindness failed. Sit. Here, she pointed to the floor. In front of the kennel. Trish hesitated. He won't come near you. Rachel said, that's okay, I'm not here to ask him anything. She sat, cross-legged, took a book from her bag. While Rachel lay on the floor, Leia temporarily crouched beside her. Full of curiosity, she's always loved animals. Rachel whispered. Trish, kindly smiling dogs. Leela kept her close to the kennel. Distance, but 100% focused. He's not angry, she whispered to herself. His fear is greater than others. Just protecting himself. Smart kid. Trish raised an eyebrow. Gets it from mom. Rachel laughed. She stroked Leia's curls. Hopes to study animal behavior. Said she came today to assist, but Rachel read to comprehend. Gently, not to Shadow, but with him. 2 days after their first visit, Rachel found Leia on her back porch. Sketch pad on her knees. Drawn Shadow again, but not. Growling but curled under a tree. One half closed. Peaceful, I think he could be different. Leia whispered without looking. If someone gave him a real chance. Rachel rested beside her brush. Face of her daughter with wind-blown curls. My dear, that healing takes time. Long time, and it's not easy, I know. Leia looked up. You always give clients the hard truth. Things worth doing maybe. He's expecting us. Words lingered with Rachel after Leia. Bedtime. She reviewed Shadow's case files again, but not as a therapist assessing risk. Hearing her daughter's silence. Conviction. Next morning, she applied for adoption. Shelter board meeting. Response immediate. He's dangerous, warned doctor. Shelter head vet Morgan. No consistency has been seen. Improvements. He belongs in a facility. Family home, especially one with child. Rachel spoke calmly. He's not naturally aggressive. He's afraid. Behavior stems from trauma. Dominance. He needs routine, trust. Safe environment. Another board. You're single, member said. Parent. Why think you're prepared for this? Rachel stared at them. My work. My home life has trauma. Recovery. Leia isn't typical. 10 years old, she listens carefully. She suggested we bring Shadow home first. Trish had seen Rachel and Ela's visit. Finally spoke. That girl sat Shadow's kennel and didn't. Her observation was typical of adults. Miss Shadow didn't growl at her. Rare, meaningful after attention. Debate. The board voted close for. Finally, Rachel's application. Approved under strict conditions. Weekly progress reports, regular sessions. With behaviorists and immediate. If something happened, return. She signed the paperwork Rachel caught. Leia looks through the shelter window. A small girl gave a hopeful smile like, I knew you'd see what I saw. Homecoming shadow. First real test he refused to enter. Crate retreating with low growls. Once anyone got close, Rachel. Not forced him, Trish helped. Created a temporary partition. Back of Rachel's SUV giving shadow space he could choose. Almost 30 minutes of waiting. He entered with patience and coaxing. Leia joined the pickup, sitting quietly on the curb while the adults worked. She didn't talk. Watched Shadow thoughtfully. The dog finally entered their eyes met through the car window. Leia's tiny hand pressed gently to the glass to connect, not wave. Silently promising we're helping you recover. The ride home was tense. Shadow panted heavily. Leia sat spring tight next to Rachel in front holding her sketch pad. Today's drawing. Distinct. Shadow was not alone. Under a tree while a girl sitting next to him reading when reached her small farm. The sun was low. Rachel left, leaving doors open for Shadow. See her, she set a training lead. Ground and backed away. No pressure. Frozen. Shadow stepped out slowly, tail down. Followed inside, keeping prepared inside his space. Doorless crates, soft bedding, no sharp sounds or fragile items. Safe and organized. Healing. Leia looked down the hall. Hopeful eyes. As this is forever? Spot. Rachel nodded if desired. Shadow watched them both. Wasn't barking or growling, but came inside. Leela believed. Thought maybe he was ready to begin. Again progress. Whispered not. Shadow shouts. First week. Ate only after Rachel and Leia left the room. He barely moved, cringing at every new sound. Sudden light shift. He no longer growled and never fled. Each morning, Leia quietly placed a new bowl of food near his crate. Place a small drawing of his son. Wide-eyed dog heart. He knows. She assured Rachel that he was not alone. Quiet resolve. One afternoon. Leia. Why does he stare at me, but not come closer? Rachel sat beside her on the floor. Not anger. Leia. Caution. He's checking if we're safe. His world was dangerous before. He's slowly realizing we're different. But I love him. Leia whispered. I understand. Loving him means moving fast. His pace, not ours. Rachel said gently. Watch his ears, tail, and shifts. His words describe his weight, telling us when he's scared. Curious. Leela nodded intently. Each word. Shadow started in week 2. Eating in the room. As long as they kept apart, he slept deeper without resting. Half open eye tight coil. Once dominant anxiety began to fade. Eased in the night changed. Everything. Rachel just finished reading aloud, cross-legged. The floor. Leia did upstairs. Homework. Shadow stood up and started. Pace wide, anxious circles across. Living room. Rachel noticed the signs. Fear of need, restlessness. He approached the back door. Rachel slowly rose, reaching for handle. Shadow lunged, deep growl. Sharp body, tense mouth, open. Rachel froze but didn't bite. Rushed past her into the garden. Circled once. She realized he hadn't known to ask her sudden move. Frightened him, but didn't attack. Chosen control. Leia helped that night. Hang a ribbon-mounted bell by the door. Teach him to ask, she said. Rachel brushed her hand and smiled. Daughter's shoulder will instruct. To listen. Late on a Saturday afternoon. Rachel was in dinner prep. Leia humming cross-legged on the floor. She colored a shadow picture. Snowy tree outside. The wind took up window rattling. Delivery truck entered their long driveway. Gravel driveway before them. Could react. A loud knock at the front door, then the rattle. Handle. Shadow's corner launch. Like a bullet, he didn't bark first. Moved quickly and directly for the first time. Time towards danger. He put himself between Rachel and rigid front door. Body low, head. Hackles raised. Deep growl followed. Guttural protective growl. That made you shiver. Rachel instinctively touched Ela shoulder, gently guiding her behind. She didn't touch Shadow or speak. Instead, she addressed the door. Leave package on porch, she said evenly. We'll get. She saw through the window. Startled, the delivery man set the box. Retreat. Quickly. Shadow stayed standing still, watching the door. Only after the truck left. After the wind calmed. Shadow slowly lowered in silence. His body alert, ears, chest rising quickly. Thank you, Rachel said. Afraid to touch him. You protected us. Ela stepped in, advanced slowly, kneeling safely. He didn't just get scared, she say. Rachel whispered. He stood his ground. Looked at her. Leia quit. Perfect but beginning shadow. Didn't return to his corner that night. He lay by the front door. Quiet guardian who finally decided. Were his to protect by mid-inter. Quiet rhythm had settled in their home. Each morning, Rachel and Leia moved. Around Shadow's world, not in control but part. Leia read from her favorite animal tales. Rachel sits respectfully, helped her understand his signals. A low tail indicated anxiety, a soft tail. Blink meant trust, slow meals. Calm rituals with Leia gently placing. Bowl closer. Daily progress was inches, not miles, but healing. Began slowly one snowy day. Morning. Leia stayed home with a cold. Wrapped in blankets by the fire. Rachel took Shadow on their usual walk. Walk alone, fresh snow covered. Woods and quiet white. Rachel led. A few minutes off leash. Shadow earned freedom, then something. Shifting. Shadow stopped ears, perked nose. He jumped into the air seconds later. The trees. Shadow, Rachel shouted. She crashed, heart racing. Through underbrush, boots sinking. Snowy stood over a half-buried white figure. Youth, probably in his 20s barely. Conscious, shivering uncontrollably. His leg twisted in soaked hiking boots. Sickening angle. A backpack lay nearby, half covered in snow. He must have fallen for hours. Rachel knelt. Brief pulse, shallow breaths. Shadow didn't flee or bark. Beside man, stiff, untucked tail. Sometimes nudging the man's arm. His nose a check on him. Rachel called. Not him. 911 gave their location. Potential early hypothermia. While waiting, Rachel broke her leg. She draped her coat over him and leaned near Shadow. You didn't flee. You stayed, she whispered. All-male rescue team arrived. Shadow stiffened his body but didn't lunge. Low growl. No snarling. Quickly quieted by Rachel's calm. She said, "It's okay. Shadow, they're here to help." Stand firm by her side, breathing hard. But steady. That night at home, Leia, astonished as Rachel described what. She looked down at her, sketching Shadow standing tall, beside a fallen hiker, smiling. Mom whispered. He changed further. He chose. The snowstorm hit just. Power lines went down days after rescue. Across the valley the house grew colder each hour. Rachel lit a living room fire while Leia collected blankets and cushions. Nesting near the fireplace, Shadow initially paced nervously, uneasy with the flickering light. Change in routine, we'll cope. Rachel whispered. It's just cold night. Lela set down her sketch pad nearby, new drawing of the three huddled around the fire. Can sleep near us, whispered. Shadow ignored. If he wants to. He started in his usual spot, just out of reach, but visible. Around 3 a.m., Rachel stirred. Half leaped to find Shadow moved. He lay curled beside Leia, not touching but close enough to warm. Between them, Rachel didn't speak. She didn't call, she just added another log to the fire. Whispered, "Good night, brave boy." House was cold in the morning, but something inside changed. Shadow no longer slept far away. The day he followed Rachel from room to room. Room cautious, but close he brushed. Hallway past her leg paused. Longer beside Leia's chair that night. She worked at her desk. Approached, he sat quietly beside her. Then leaned slightly until his head rested on her knee. Rachel iced. She moved her hand slowly, an inch without forcing or leading. Rested it on his head. Shadow remains. That moment, the distance between. Spring erased fear and doubt. The shelter board wrote, officially ended monitoring. Given the remarkable progress, we consider Shadow's successful rehabilitation will inform our future work. Will Rachel and Shadow return to shelter to talk? Potential adopters, Rachel agreed. This time Leia carried Shadow, confidently walking through the leash. The familiar gate's staff froze. Remembered the unapproachable snarl. Creature once shaken in the corner of his kennel. Shadow moved calmly beside his most trusted girl. Unbelievable. That's the same dog. Volunteer whispered in education. Room, 12 people sat semicircled. Some seeking adoption simply. Rachel stood in the front. Shadow, curious. Head near Ela's hand at her feet. I'm not a dog trainer, she said. Trauma therapist, and my lessons from working with my applicants. Shadow explained her method. No dominance, no quick fixes. Shadow wasn't controlled, he needed. Choosing safety was necessary. Connection without coercion. She Stopped and looked at Shadow, who lay. Slow, steady breathing. His aggression wasn't the issue. Solution his armor, we weren't too. It gave him reasons to. She raised her hand shyly. I used to think dogs needed love. She said, they need comprehension. Shadow didn't change because we waited, and he changed. A young couple in back exchanged. Look then asked about a scared shepherd mixing in kennels. Do you think he has hope too? Smiled, every dog has a tale. Willing to listen deeply. Healing is always possible later. Evening at home, Rachel sat by fireplace as Leia slept on her lap. Shadow stretched one paw towards the warm light, chest rising, falling calmly on the wall. A timeline photo hung above them, tracking progress every inch. The first time Shadow entered the house. The night he rang the doorbell to leave. He leaned his head into Rachel's hand. Between the photos were new certificates. Leia Moore, simple white paper. Junior pet care volunteer. She was recognized by the shelter, aiding Shadow's transformation. Rachel cried when she discovered Leia had received it. She whispered, "It's fine," said, but Rachel knew it meant Leia started her journey. You healed him, Rachel whispered, turning Ila's hair, not just with love but patience with understanding. Leia looked down, smiling. Her latest drawing, the three of them beneath a blooming apple tree. One for spring in a fast-paced world. Judge Shadow reminded, aggression and fear are not evil. Weakness that prevents healing. Through force but presence. Rachel surveyed Shadow, who was now. You watched the fire calmly. Did not require repair, whispered. You needed to be seen. 4. Leela. The journey began. Shadow wasn't her first rescue. Maybe he showed her who she should have